This is Mike and Sean back with Talking Tickets. We're talking Ovechkin record-breaking tickets. Some major debuts for some all-timers have been found. My Luka Returns the Mavericks game experience and much, much more. All right, Sean.
What's up, Mike?
Good to be back.
This is the earliest I think we've ever done a show.
I know our times they just don't work. But
well, for me, it's morning. I'm still in the morning. I just had breakfast.
You just woke up. You're just waking up, had your coffee, your breakfast, ready to roll.
Yeah. So good. What do we have?
So I wonder, you might as well start kind of the big sports news, and I guess the kind of ticket related stuff was the Ovechkin debut. Or not debut, the Ovechkin breaking Gretzky's record. And, you know, there's some interesting angles to this. So I kind of want to just go over this. Let me click on share my screen here. And so I kind of will pull up the eBay kind of listings that kind of give you an idea of what, you know, what they kind of look like. So right now, basically, at the game, they didn't print out tickets supposedly, but I feel like one or two always slipped through. But on the Jumbotron during the game, which I've been saying to do this forever, which somebody finally did it, was, hey, print your tickets from today's game, scan the QR code or visit blah, blah, blah.com, and you can get your ticket. And they said it cost you $45. But then they came back and said season ticket holders basically will get them for free. I don't know if that's changed. So, you know, they got thousands of people. Like, I'm sure, assuming they probably hold about 15,000, I would assume, I don't know, 20, 30% did it, maybe more.
Yeah.
So I guess, and then you go to eBay and you'll see some on here. And like this one says real ticket, not commemorative. So you see this all the time. Like, did this one actually get through? It looks different than what the ones they showed on the Jumbotron. And then, of course, you have other people showing what they saw on the Jumbotron, selling them. Basically, they haven't got them yet, but they're saying, hey, this is the ticket. It's up for auction. I'm going to ship it to you when I get it.
What does it say? Like, how does it differentiate the ones that they had to get in the mail? Does it say
I guess
something on it?
If this is legit, I mean, this was like possibly a true box office one. You know, the guy's asking it, and it does look different than the one they showed on the Jumbotron. And then, you know, this is basically the, you know, the generic ticket that they showed. So there are differences. And then I spoke with Matt at PSA about, hey, how are you going to grade these? And he's like, well, you know, we haven't got any in, so we'll assess that when we do receive them. So it's kind of unknown if there's going to be a barcode difference, you know, like say, or a date difference where it says April 6th down here. You know, sometimes there's different numbers that event code. So it's kind of a TBD on how all this will shake out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder if that's, how did you find out about that, about them doing the Jumbotron thing?
So it's kind of been like some of the online articles just saying, hey, basically.
Interesting. I wonder, I would be really curious to know what the take rate was on that, because there's probably thousands of them out there then. Or
they said in the article, I think it was quoted as thousands were sold.
Yeah. I wonder if that starts a trend for a team, because obviously that's a huge moneymaker for that team.
Right. So, I mean, say, like we said, 20%, 15,000, 3,000 seats at 45 a pop. I mean, you're looking at, what's the math on that?
A lot. But I mean, worth doing if you're a team.
Right.
Obviously, not every game has this type of event, but there's people who want to do this at every game, whether it's their first game or it's some kind of thing that they just want to save, even if it isn't some huge event in the game. It's still there's a market for this, obviously. And this is hockey. There's not as many hockey ticket collectors as there are, baseball or basketball.
No, and even the game I went to, the Luka Returns to Dallas, first time back, there may only been 2, 3, 4, 500 people, but still, I mean, $520 a pop, you're talking 10 grand in just revenue from that. And it could be more. I mean, you never know it, but I think it's could start a trend. And I know kind of the purist would be, well, it's not a real ticket, but it's still, I think the days of you getting a real ticket and going in the game are just not going to get easier as time goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives somebody, it's something that you can collect in the same type of collection, but it's not a ticket. But like you said, it's the best case scenario. So I hope that teams start doing that more and continue to do that, because I think it's just a cool option for people who are continuing to collect modern tickets, but the inventory is becoming less and less available.
So like this guy actually held one up at the game, and it looks different than the one the other guy printed out. And this one supposedly sold. Best offer 10K. I didn't see the exact number it went for.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. And then I kind of want to get your thoughts on the value of the different tickets. If you actually,
I wonder, what do you think the different, if you try to look ahead into the future and imagine what people would want, and whether or not having a flood of the commemoratives affects the value of a real one, because there's just so many, and the average kind of, person who isn't real savvy on the differences in the future doesn't really kind of understand and is willing to just buy the cheaper one.
Yeah, I think it comes down to how PSA shows them.
Yeah.
Like for the Ohtani 50-50 game, they don't call them commemorative. I guess people, it's a little different because people could go to the box office and buy a ton, and those could get you in the game, but they're all $25. But there are other tickets out there that were non-25, which I think may have more value, but maybe not, since those still got you in. But these, I think it come down, just like I said, how PSA grades them, and then how the collector in the long term views them. But a lot of people are just going to want that are at the game, just want they want the commemorative, and they're fine with that, and they don't want to pay a major premium for the one that actually bought at the box office and was scanned to get you in.
Yeah. Because this type of thing has been going on for a long time. It's happened before, in the past. I think of Cal Ripken's 3,000 hit. There's hundreds, there's thousands of those out there, because the team took the extra tickets and just distributed them. I don't know if they sold them or if they gave them away or whatever, but there's so many full of those of that game, and there's a lot of games like that. And so the nuance now isn't really that important to the collector, that because it says general admission or whatever, it's less desired than an actual ticket with a price on it. I don't know that it's going to be a huge difference in the future, unless there's some easy way to tell the difference, like it says commemorative on it or souvenir on it, versus one that is, doesn't have that. So I guess it's still an open question.
Yeah, I think it's just if there's a differentiator between the two, and then I guess the optics of the two, how they look. Like if the commemorative looked really cool, and the box office one was super generic box office, and then of course how PSA graded them. I think those are kind of the three factors, and of course supply and demand affects the value of the ones they print after the fact and the ones that were actually used to get you in the game.
Yeah, to me, it's supply and demand is the biggest variable. I don't care what they would look like. I would much rather have a super rare one that looked terrible than one that you could find anywhere that looked, amazing.
Right.
So
supply and demand always wins out in the end.
Yeah. Interesting.
So some other news that we ran into, which I was shocked when I saw this, and I know you said you saw it too, was basically, let me pull this up. And, it's been a while. Man, I've been out of the game too long. So this was the first one they posted. Collecting by Joe, which is Joe Orlando, who now works for Heritage, did work for PSA. I think was the CEO for PSA at one time until what's his name came in. But he posted this. Now, these are super rare. Basically, 3 full Beatles Washington Coliseum tickets, which were their first, I believe their first U.S. show on their big run when they came to the States was like one of the most iconic, craziest tours of all time. Yeah. And I've seen these go for upwards of 20, 30K. And now you see 3 of these fulls hitting the market. And I believe they're all going to get graded by PSA and sent to Heritage to eventually be auctioned off.
Yeah. Do you think that they'll be auctioned off as a group or individually?
I would think individually. I think that would make the most sense. But to me, it's great to promote that you receive these, but if I'm the seller, I don't want everybody to know that there's 3 of them out there. But I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on basically all of this?
Yeah, it's tough because if you sell one of them, now that all 3 of them are here and everybody knows that Heritage has them, that another one's coming up. So are you going to be as aggressive as you would have when you could just bow out and take the next one or go for the next one? And same with the third, there's a third one coming. So I don't know if it's smart to show them all or to just do one at a time and see how it goes. But, we've seen this game many times. Usually you don't know that there's other ones coming. So I don't know. What would you do?
Well, I mean, part of that, so I want to touch on the next one. The next post, which was even crazier, was him saying, look what we got.
Yeah.
4 Jordan debuts, nice looking season versions that the last sale, let me find it, went for 58.8 as a 2. So he posted this, I don't know, maybe it was a week ago, roughly. And then his post just the other day that says this, they've been graded. So this adds a touch to kind of your thought process of like, okay, what should these go for? What will people pay? And now my question is, how do you send these to auction? So you have this one, which is an 8, which is the highest graded ever for a season ticket holder version, where the 3 went for 50 some K. You have another 8. So you have 2 8s, a 6, and a 4.
Yeah. And even the 4 looks amazing. Like the 4, even if you didn't have the 6 and the 8s and you put the 4 at auction without anybody knowing about the other ones, it probably would have gone for 70,000 because it's a high grade of this version, which you rarely see.
Right.
And so, but now that people know that there's 2 8s out there, the people with deep pockets who would be interested in having the best of the best, why would they go for the 4? They're going to wait for the 8s.
Right. So do you immediately start with the 8 and kind of set the table on, hey, this is the big daddy, but you have 2 of them. So, I don't know how, it'd be interesting how you strategize this as an auction house, but also how you strategize this as a bidder.
Yeah. Yeah. Or as just the owner who found these and probably didn't pay anything for them because probably had them the whole time. Right. So then you're like, if you discovered these, like some family member of yours went to this game and gave you these, what would you do?
Man, I think I would probably take the one I thought was the nicest and send it to PSA and Heritage and having them do that and be like, oh, here's another one. And maybe not another 8, but maybe the 4 and be like, oh, here's have that one sell and be like, oh, and maybe here's another one.
Maybe wait a year.
Right.
Like if you want to get max, although on the other hand, the person probably didn't pay anything for them. So you might as well just get whatever you're going to get for them. They probably don't care as much.
Right. They're just like, I have these. Here you go. You sell them the way you think we should sell them.
Yeah.
And send me my money and I'll be insanely happy.
But then the question becomes, as an auction house, how do you approach this? Because if I don't know, you could sell all 4 of them in one lot.
I don't feel like you'd get the max value though if you're doing them all. Maybe, I don't know. That's interesting because I mean, how many of these? I never thought another 4 would immediately just hit the market. I thought they pretty much had dried up and 1 or 2 would trickle out over the next,
Yeah.
since the last
Yeah.
3 or 4
Well, these
years.
are all consecutive, so it's almost like it is just one find. They just have 4 tickets. So, yeah, you never know when this is going to happen and does it impact the market. In my opinion, this is the one ticket in the entire hobby that could possibly absorb this kind of find and not see, some kind of drop in value necessarily. But it'll be interesting to see what happens because I don't know for sure, but I think that if there is a ticket, it's this one because there's just so many Jordan collectors and so many, basketball collectors from the 80s and 90s that would like to have this that aren't necessarily ticket collectors,
Justin says, I would have graded them one at a time and sell not all at once. Space the auctions out at least 6 months apart. The other thing I said, the effect on the hobby of these hitting the market and the effect on this ticket, now, so you just say supply goes up. So, the value of yours may go down because it's the supply and demand, but it also maybe more people become familiar that maybe you're non-ticket collectors of this ticket. And you may get some of those non-ticket collectors kind of jumping in and saying, oh my gosh, this is the coolest find ever. I'm a Jordan guy. And that, keeps the prices stable or higher. It's going to be really interesting to see how all this plays out.
Yeah, because it's such a big market that desires this ticket. I think it's a little bit different than, say, if I don't know, a bunch of Frank Thomas debuts were discovered, which there has been a few on eBay recently. I think that might, there's just not as much demand for that as there is for Michael Jordan across multiple collecting spectrums. So it could maintain it. And you're right, it could actually increase the market because of the exposure. So interesting.
The other question I wanted to pose to you, which one would you, and not knowing, of course, you see the prices from the past, but would you rather own this 8, like super pristine one, or would you rather own the authentic full with kind of the scraggly end?
Scraggly end. I think I'd rather have the full, and I'm not a full guy, but I think that because it's so rare,
Right.
like it's just a really doubtful that you'll ever see another one of those.
Yeah.
So I would rather have the full, but yeah, the 8, a PSA 8 from a ticket that old, that's amazing. Those are, I'll be really, what do you think that those will sell for? Let's say there was just one and none of the other ones existed. One PSA 8. What do you think it would go for?
I mean, I would think, I just top of my head, 100.
Yeah.
Just the 8 alone, kind of around that ballpark. But now that that there's multiple 8s, I don't know if it would hit that. I see that last one went in the 50 range, and now I'm thinking, well, that's kind of the ballpark for all these, like somewhere above or below the 50K, and maybe the 8s go for closer to 100. That's kind of where I see things. And I don't know, it's hard to say with super high end stuff. Like sometimes with multiple, man, I really don't know, because some people are gonna be hesitant to bid it too high because they know there may be others on the way, but then somebody may want the 8, and then the 4 may actually get a lot higher action because people just want one and they think they can get it for cheaper and they don't want to get it's gonna be all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is hard to predict. It'd be fun to watch. I think that when you get into the high numbers like that, there's only a few collectors who are willing to put up that much money for a ticket. And so maybe because there's 2, it won't go quite as high because, there's another one somewhere out there that they might want. The other thing is that a lot of those types of collectors really covet the ultra rare. And if they think it's the only one that exists, then they'll pay whatever for it. Whereas there's another one that we know of and even a 6, and a 6 is pretty good too. Visually, there's probably no difference between the two.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I think the best thing would have been, hey, we got 3, we got this 8, this 4, 6, and this 4, and sell those off. Sell the 8 first, then go to the 4, then maybe the 6, and then be like, oh, hey, we got this other 8 that never got graded, but now it's an 8. Look, we got another one. You know. Justin asked, would you rather have a signed stub or a non-signed full? Same grade. That's a good question.
I would rather have a non-signed full.
I don't know. That signature looked really cool on the ticket. I might take the stub over the full. Like if you looked at it, it was just like there's a Jordan signed college when he hit the shot in college his freshman year that looks amazing on the ticket. And if it looked like that, I think I would take it instead of some scraggly ass signature.
Yeah.
He has any seat number 3. With that would gain a premium. Let's see. We got
I don't think so.
No, 2G. Yeah, it's all 2G, 4, 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. 2G, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think the fact that it's a PSA 8 and there's no other tickets in the entire that I'm aware of. So I was looking at the Jordan debut population, and it's really hard to figure out because there's so many different categories.
Right.
But by my count, there was 78 Jordan debuts in the pop report. 78. So just to give you some context, when I got my first Jordan debut, it was, I think, 2012, and it was on eBay. And at that time, there was 4 in the pop report, and now there's 78. And I don't think that there's anything higher than the 8. So in any of the categories, including like the Ticketron and all that. So it's the most highly desired version with the highest grade.
So yeah, you go on it. It kind of gives you an idea of the kind of the craziness of it. So you have the box office version, the season full, which said there's 1, the season stub, which is the ones when they started differentiating between the seasons and the full. So you have 7 for sure season stubs, but there's probably half a dozen more at least.
Yeah, because there's a big category in just the regular tickets that they used to just put the Jordans in under there, and there's like 23 of them in there, and they don't say whether they're blue or red or whatever.
Right. And I think this one, yep. So there's 23 Michael Jordan debuts, and some of these could be the season version because they're graded so long ago they didn't differentiate between them.
So I would guess, including those 4 season ones that came out, I'm guessing there's still less than 20 of the red versions.
So, but yeah, craziness, lots of Jordan crazy. Yeah, like 22 Ticketrons at least.
Yeah,
you know, it's just all over the place. And here's another Ticketron. You know, like there's 6 different links you have to click.
Yeah,
just to tally them up.
Yeah. So I always think of this ticket when I think of kind of semi-modern day, supposedly rare tickets that have an attendance, because the attendance at this game was like 14,000. So, you know, if you're looking at a ticket of, say, Derek Jeter debut or Ken Griffey Jr. debut, where the attendance was higher and it was in the same era, roughly, you know, like I guess within the same decade, 10 years, then you have to imagine that, because the Jordan debut is exhausted in people trying to find them, obviously, because you know it's a $20,000 to $50,000 find if you find one. So imagine a lot of these other more modern tickets probably have that number out there at least,
right?
But they just haven't been discovered because people aren't as aware of their value as the Jordan. Yes. So it's kind of a good baseline to start at when you're trying to imagine what the actual population of a ticket is out there.
Right. All the undiscovered ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, quite interesting to see how this all plays out. Another thing I wanted to touch upon. Did you have anything else on the Jordans?
No, we covered it.
So, as you can see in the background, I'm a Mavericks fan. It's the worst time in the history of the Mavericks franchise to be a Mavericks fan.
You still haven't gotten over this?
Man, I don't think people really understand how bad it is around here. I mean, it is bad. So I went to a game like a month ago after the trade, and there was so little joy in going to that game, knowing that, hey, we were in the finals last year and we had a global superstar in his prime, and we traded him for a bag of potato chips, and now we're fighting for the play-in, and that's where we are. And our other star player blew out his knee. So this is what I'm here. I get to watch this and know this is the future. So I was like, I'm not going to any more games the rest of the season. I'm punting until next year. But I'm going to go to the Luka game because he's coming back, and I feel like I have to be there. It's kind of like history to be at that game. So I go, and I'm going to get a ticket. And last time wasn't that difficult. You know, I'd tell him I'm a season ticket holder. I sent the other one to my nephew. And I show up. I'm like, hey, I don't have my phone. I sent my other ticket to my nephew. So I'm going to meet him in the arena. Can you give me a printed ticket? You know, he does the whole thing. Okay, what's your season ticket number? What's your name? What's your email? Your address? Blah, blah, blah. And he goes back in the room for like 5 minutes. And he comes back. And he's like, we don't print tickets. I was like, we can't print tickets. I'm like, well, how do I get in the game? You know, I'm a season ticket holder. Like, you know, I have all my info. What can you do? And he just looks at me. He's like, we can't print. So we just kind of like stare at each other. I'm about to give up because I hate doing this. And he goes, let me see what I can do. And he goes back in the room for literally another 5 minutes. This has been here for like 15 minutes at the box office. He comes back, looks at me, pushes a few buttons, literally turns around right behind him, prints a ticket out, and goes, here you go. It's like, this is so stupid. So dumb. So I got a ticket for the game. But I'm thinking, like, what is the value to this? Because it's like literally, hey, here's the worst moment in the history of your franchise. Your global iconic superstar player coming back and dropping 45 on you, and everybody's cheering for the other team and screaming fire Nico. So it has like this little historical thing to it. But and then Did you see any of it? Like the video they played before? So they played this franchise, man. So they called the starting lineups out. And, you know, of course, Luke is the last one, and they say the first four guys, and they stop and they say, blah, blah, blah. Here's a tribute video. And they play this amazing tribute video of all Luka's highlights. And the whole time you're watching as a fan, like literally, you feel sick in your stomach. It's like, we had this, and now you're playing this at the game, showing his greatest moments. Thank you, Luka. And then he's crying. He's on the bench crying. Like, he did not want to leave. We traded him. He's in tears.
Wow.
And then he comes out and everybody starts chanting Luka, and it's just like, this is the worst I've ever felt. It's like, there's an old saying, you know, time heals all wounds, but, you know, video opens them right back up, and like you start to get over.
Why did they do that? They got some flack for that, I hope.
Yeah, but then it was like, well, what do you got to do? Something. You got to do some kind of tribute. And you know, if you don't do a tribute video, people are like, wow, that's great. He did all that for you, and don't even honor him. But then when you do something like that, people are like, wow, you basically kick him out, talk trash about him. And now you make this tribute video like he's this amazing player. Horrible.
So is it impacting the Mavericks season ticket base?
Oh yeah, their season. Oh yeah, I bet their renewal rates historically low. Everybody I talked to basically said they're not renewing. People are out. I've talked to multiple people who are basically done with the Mavericks and the NBA. I've talked to multiple people who are now Lakers fans because of Luka. They're like done with the Mavericks.
Yeah.
I've talked to multiple people who said, you know, I would take the option where the team goes to Vegas. We don't have basketball for 2 years, but we're guaranteed to have the Mavericks in year 3. They would take that option just to have a total reset. Because they're so done with the ownership and the general manager. They're so disgusted. Like, they want them gone. Like, they want them out. They won't want them part of the Mavericks franchise, and they want to start.
So it would be an expansion team?
Yeah, so it better be the Mavericks year 3. So you have no basketball for 2 years. The ownership and the GM and everybody's going to Vegas, and they start fresh year 3
with an
People are like,
expansion
yeah, we'll take that. We'll start completely from ground zero.
Well,
that's how bad it is.
That's funny because people have been saying that in Seattle for almost 2 decades now. And they've been talking about getting the Sonics back, and the Sonics coming back. And they've been gone for 18 years, 17 years.
That's crazy.
People are still obsessed with getting the Sonics back. I personally gave up on basketball back then, so
I get it.
Yeah. But I mean, your situation's a little bit different. Actually, it's very similar because your ownership is the problem. And that was the problem that we had too, because they sold to a guy who wanted to move them to South Dakota or wherever.
Hey, I saw something like at the Mariners game. There were guys that took their shirts off, whatever, and it said Seattle Mariners, but then they turned around, it said sell the team or what? Like,
yeah, people are not happy with the Mariners ownership either, but that's been going on for years.
Because they just don't spend enough money, or
they don't spend money on players, and they have a good team, but they won't spend money on hitters. You know,
I know I looked at the Mariners lineup the other day. Their batting averages, I was like, oh my gosh, just like 170, 218, 141. Like, oh.
Yeah.
It's like Sean
managed to beat the Rangers 2 games in a row, though.
That they did. So they got something. They got that going.
Yeah.
But yeah, Justin was saying, he's a huge Laker fan. Like, trade you an AD. Then this is true. I saw this little article. I've heard they lost close to $100 million in sponsorship, season ticket holders, jersey sales, etc. That was like an ESPN article, which I don't doubt it. Whew.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough times.
How long has this ownership group been in charge?
About a year.
Oh, so yeah, you don't have. It's only going to get worse.
It can't. I don't think it's possible to get any worse.
But I mean, they've shown their true colors, so it's not like they're going to turn around and make it a huge winner.
No, the only hope now is that Mavs win the 1% chance they win the lottery and get Cooper Flag. That's the only thing that can basically save the franchise at this point.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance, a 1% chance. The Mavs in their history have never improved their odds in the draft lottery ever.
Oh, really?
Not improved. So we're due.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So there's always a chance. Did you want to go over pickups or auction stuff?
Sure. What do you have?
So I picked this one up, and I think this is I had a stub of this. This is the Miracle of the Meadowlands. And I think this is a great example of a ticket I'd much rather have. It's a 1, but I don't care. I'd rather have this as a 1 than a stub as a 10, just from the looks of this ticket, right? Like, it looks awesome. And okay, it's a 1, but okay, it has some pinholes and maybe a crease, but like when you look at it and you put it on your wall, it looks amazing, right?
Yeah, a lot of those older football tickets are like that, where the stub part of it is it's really nothing. And the full ticket actually tells the whole story.
Yeah, and the full is basically, they ripped it like right here. So it's usually ripped. But you get the whole eagle. I mean, man, I just love. I bought that, I think, on eBay the other day. I thought, man, I thought that was an awesome looking ticket. And I want to get your opinion on this one, because I know. So this is the Preakness Secretary. I'm a horse race guy.
Yeah.
And this is where the stub would be right here, right? Mm-hmm. And that's all the ones you see are like that, like they're stubs. Well, this isn't a full, but it's close to a full, but it's ripped. And the question is like, okay, if I got this graded, it's really nice ticket. Would I pull this part off and grade it as a stub, or leave it full? It'd still be a stub, but it would have the full, but it has that. I don't like the rip, how that ugliness is.
Yeah. It's a good question. In my opinion, I don't represent the market, but I would rather have the extra piece on there. I would always, in my view, even if it is just an awkward tear and it's just a bad, and I have a couple tickets like that where it has a little bit of the full part of it on it, I prefer that. I just think it looks better.
Yeah.
But I know that most people just don't agree with that. If you took that part off, you might have a really high grade.
Yeah,
And
that's what I was thinking. Like if I haven't really super analyze it, but I would think it would be like a 6 or something like that.
yeah.
But then I'm like, if I ripped it off, but then if I leave it, how is PSA going to grade that part? Because everything else is super nice.
Right. I think that would affect the grade, but that's just my opinion. I would rather have it on there, but I'm not. I just don't really care about grades because of things like that.
Right.
Like the grade just doesn't matter to me, but that's just me. Obviously a lot of people, the grade does matter, and but you wanted my opinion. That was it. Leave it.
No,
Leave it
Justin
as is.
said the same thing. I thought that's what you would say. I still don't know. I kind of almost like it raw, where basically, you have to factor in the grade, but I don't know what I'll do with that. Do you have any pickups?
Yeah, I got a return from PSA that I'll go over. These are kind of cool tickets that I picked up. This is Frank Robinson's debut. This is my second one of this, but it's a pretty rare ticket. You don't see a lot of Frank Robinson debuts. This is one I picked up on eBay. A few of these have been on there. Frank Thomas debut. This one is a PSA 6. It was raw. I sent it in. It has writing on the back, a fax number. But this turns out is my 73rd Hall of Fame debut. I didn't have a Frank Thomas debut, so it got one.
Oh, really? So I know multiple have come through in the last 6 months. Did you just not want to pay what they were going for, or kind of what was your thought process on buying?
I ended up paying for what it was going for. It was at auction, and I think another one came up after that was similar grade but no mark on the back. So and that one went for a little bit more, but I was happy, to finally get one. I know just like I said earlier, you have to imagine that there's more of these out there. They just haven't been discovered or whatever, but got to get one at some point. So that was I went ahead and got it at that point because I hadn't won anything at auction recently. So this is another one. This is a really important one to me. This is Jackie Robinson's second steal of home in his career.
Oh, cool.
And 1947. So it goes with my 47 run. But really tough one. You don't see a lot of those. In 1947, Jackie Robinson stole home 3 times. And now I have number 2 and number 3. So number 1 is the tough one, but that was at Pittsburgh. Really difficult. Nobody's ever seen one before, so if one comes up, it'll be a big find.
Is there any there's none in the pop report either?
None in the pop report of number 1 at Pittsburgh. There's not a lot of Pittsburgh tickets from that era. They're pretty tough to find. There's a lot of general admission, so dated tickets from that era are tough for Pittsburgh. But so I also had some Ted Williams tickets that I found on eBay that are really cool. So this is so Ted Williams, if you know his career, he went to war twice. He missed almost 5 seasons because of wars. He was in World War I for 3 years, and then he did the Korean War. And in the Korean War, he was an actual fighter pilot. He was on the front lines. He got shot down once. But this is a ticket that was on eBay. April 30th was the final game after he was drafted back to go to the Korean War. He early in the season, April 30th, the Red Sox had a kind of a going away party, I guess Ted Williams Day for him, because it was his final game before he goes off to Korea. And in typical Ted Williams fashion, he hit a game-winning home run in his final at-bat before he went to the war. And then after he returned, his first hit after returning almost 2 years later was also a home run on August 9th, 1953.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, both of these were on eBay recently, and I picked them up because I thought that was really cool. I love it how it kind of tells the story of Ted Williams's career and how it interacts with the military service that he had. Almost 5 years. So if you go back, I think it was a second season, maybe third season, he batted 400 in 1941. The following season, he won a Triple Crown, and then he goes to war for 3 years, misses 3 years in his prime, comes back, wins another Triple Crown, and then goes to war again, comes back, wins a batting title twice. So, like probably the greatest hitter of all time.
Yeah, he's an interesting player because, like you said, all those years he missed and the numbers he could have had. Yeah. But then he's not really – he's that kind of a enigma type person who people say he was kind of a big jerk, but he did these amazing things fighting for our country. But then I don't know, when the younger people think about the greatest of all time, it's always, Ruth, Mantle, Jackie. Yeah. Well, Jackie is just because of Jackie, maybe not the stats, but like Ted Williams, I don't know where he falls on like the big collectors. You don't really, you hear like Mays and all those guys, but I never hear somebody's like, I got the big Ted Williams card. It's like, no, you never hear about that.
Yeah.
It's always the
unless they're a Boston fan. Unless they're a Boston fan, it's really the Red Sox. It is interesting how he is. If you look at his numbers, he probably is the greatest hitter of all time. Mm-hmm. Maybe Babe Ruth, if Barry Bonds, if you're not looking at steroids or anything, but when you factor in the fact he missed 5 years of his prime, and he still hit 521 home runs.
Yeah,
and he, that's, I don't know. Imagine a player missing 5 years in their prime today. Their career would be over. They wouldn't return.
Then he comes back and still crushes.
So he almost in 1957 he hit 388, and I have it. Let me find it. Okay, right here. So on this one, August 15th, 1957, he was hitting 393. And newspapers around the country were talking about him possibly hitting 400 again. Like a little more than a month left in the season. And this was 16 years after he hit 400. And
wow,
he was almost hit 400. He ended up hitting 388, but still that was the highest batting average until I think George Brett in 1980. So pretty amazing. Even and then he was 38 years old or 39. So yeah, incredible. But you have his last game, is that right?
Yeah, it's his last game where he hit the home run, and it's full, but I think it's taped together. But I think that's like, he does some amazing tickets. That's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I don't know if anybody ever has the double header where he hit over 400. If any of those are out there,
that would be definitely a grail for me. If that one ever came up, that would be one of the best tickets. There's just such a cool story behind it that he could have sat out and hit 400, but he insisted on playing and
406,
like 6 hits.
So. And his other, I guess, maybe his 500th home run. Would he have any other monster? Of course, his debut, if it was ever out there.
Yeah, his debut was against the Yankees on opening day in 1939, so it probably is out there. I know that there's at least one in the Pop Report, so there's probably multiple because it's a Yankees ticket, and there's lots of Yankees tickets during that era. So it'll probably surface.
I know around here there's been a lot of talk that this is the worst trade in the history of sports since the Babe Ruth trade, the Luka trade. Like legit. And our head coach said it was kind of cool that they're comparing it to that. Jesus. It's like, you guys just say the dumbest shit ever. This gets worse and worse.
Wow. Wow.
Well, let's take a look at the auctions. There's a couple on here. I feel like right up your alley. Wanted to get your thoughts. One of the first ones was, I thought when I first looked at this, I thought this was Griffey's debut. Then I realized, oh damn, this was his first hit that went for 8,800.
No, it's a debut and he had.
So it was his debut. Okay,
yeah.
that's why threw me off because I looked at it real quick and I just saw first career hit. But I guess that's pretty much right in line.
Wow, I didn't see that it went for that high. What's the grade?
A 2.
It's just a 2. Wow. That's a lot higher than I would have expected. But I guess people are just going to get it signed and try to flip it for 15,000. So,
man, I think that's just getting tougher and tougher.
Yeah.
Actually, there's some cool. I'm not F1 in soccer much, but Lewis Hamilton first F1 victory, 45-75 autoed. So it kind of tells you that's probably a grail for some F1 collectors. Zendane, big soccer guy. This one for 3,300 autoed. I think mainly the auto is the big deal. The Jordan shot. This is kind of what these kind of seem like are around this number, 3,300. It's kind of like the most basic ticket ever.
Yeah.
Where his shot against the Cavs. But it's, it's one of his most famous moments. And you see those pop up randomly. And these other ones, Thurman Munson debut. Do you have one? You have one of those? I'm assuming, right?
I don't have one. He's not a Hall of Famer, but it's a popular debut because obviously Thurman Munson has a huge following, Yankee fans. But yeah, that's a big number for that ticket, I think.
Justin said that was mine. There's some other ones. Ichiro, what do you think about this one? What you know about Ichiro auto box office debuts?
Yeah, it seems like, the ticket by itself used to be a $2,000 ticket, but they've kind of come down because there's a lot of them out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, signed. That sounds about right. Don't you think?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fair price if you're a big Ichiro or debut collector auto. I thought that looked like a cool, nice looking ticket.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the logistics of getting Ichiro's autograph nowadays. Have you ever heard of him signing?
No, I never hear of any signing, so that's kind of a.
So I know that he's around, because he still works for the Mariners, so you see him all over the place. But back in my day, he did not sign very much at all. Maybe that's changing as he gets older, but it was kind of, he had an exclusive with, I think, Upper Deck or something, and he just would not sign anything unless, you knew him or you had access to him.
Other cool ones, of course, some Auto Brady stuff. Those are seeing more of those. This was a cool one for soccer. First Diego Maradona debut ticket. I'm sure the soccer guys were all over that one, which for $22.57. Man, this was a lot. Hank Aaron, 715, 2,100 for a 6. There's quite a few of those out there. That's a damn good price when the autos go for even more. I mean, they had some cool ones in here. Signed Jack, full I'm back Jordan ticket. This is a pretty cool, good auction. Otani 8 debut or first hit, debut and first hit. I think Justin had a ton of these in here. I'm guessing this is damn near half his auction. I bet this one was his too. Fisk. So yeah, this was a cool one. I think Bode, but yeah, there's a lot of ones in here that I thought was pretty solid, pretty what you'd expect. Only a few super high ones, but kind of gives you a good gauge on where everything is at. Kind of a lot of auto stuff. Other auctions, some big ones. A Wilt PSA 2. That seems about right. The 100-point game went for $28K.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting that one to go for.
I mean, yeah, Justin pointed out. Yeah, this was this was our old debut. This was part of the trade, Sean. Me and Justin did you did a 3-way trade.
Was it signed or did Justin get it signed?
No, it was signed.
It was.
So yeah, it was I saw that. I kind of had a little chuckle. I was like, oh damn, my old ticket. This was, man, I don't know much about this. I was wondering if you knew much. 34 colored World Series ticket, $14K.
Yeah.
Satchel Paige, $12K. Slim Jones, not. I mean, that's a super cool ticket.
Yeah,
I went for 14 some K.
There's a bunch of these old Negro League tickets that are coming up at the current Hunt auction. I think it's Hunt, and it's interesting because they're really 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 tough to find, especially fully dated like this.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, this it's just the supply and demand thing. These are really rare, especially dated. There's a lot of them that are undated, and it's really hard to tell. But when you're dating it, then you can obviously go back and look at who played and what they did and stuff. And now you have a Satchel Paige ticket, which is tough to find.
I
So
know.
really cool.
I wish I was part of the trade and got your end of the deal. You got the Satchel Paige first win. Took us to the cleaners.
Yeah, you're not going to see that at Golden.
Called shot. These things seem to always hold up. Man, people love these tickets. I think it crosses the to over to the non-ticket collectors. A flying goal, Bobby Orr. These things are so small and tiny, but it's so historic. 40, 44, 46. So yeah, there's some good stuff. A lot of these have been popping up. The Pine Tar games. We've seen some Foles.
Seems like a lot of Pine Tar games have been popping up lately. You notice that?
Yeah, for sure.
But they maintain their value pretty well, so interesting.
This was about kind of where I went. I think I was interested in getting one of these. I kind of wanted to upgrade mine. I thought this was a kind of a fair price. The Hoosiers ticket. I just don't know how these do because the Rudy ticket. You've seen more of these. I kind of compare it to the Rudy ticket a little bit.
Yeah, but wasn't this a high school game?
Yeah, it was a high school game.
How many people could they have had in a high school?
I mean, it is Indiana, so they
Yeah.
probably had thousands, but yeah, nothing like. I'm sure they had like 2 or 3K if I was to guess.
I mean, the Rudy game, that was a football game. The stadium probably held 70,000.
Yeah.
So it's.
This was an interesting one. A 10 9/11 ticket went for $26.82, which
wow. Is that signed by someone?
No, just straight. It's a 10, man. People love 10s. Pop one, highest graded. They go crazy for 10s.
That is a insane price. Well, I think there must be a lot of those out there, and every single one of them is full. Obviously, they didn't play the game.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised.
People love them 10s.
Yeah.
Even Justin agreed with that. Like you said, George Brett, full Pine Tar. I remember this one. That one went for 2,500.
Huh. Seems like not as much of a premium for the full on that.
I think that's kind of all the bigger stuff. And then you're talking about the Hunt auction. Oh, that was this was REA. They had a few I want to touch on. They had a Babe Ruth bows out. That's actually a bunch of writing on the 25th anniversary.
That is a really cool one. I don't know. Did we see another Babe Ruth bows out full, or maybe it's the same one? But that's a really cool one. Really rare version, obviously, for a ticket that's really well known. So
super cool. And even the writing really wouldn't bother me because it says 21st anniversary Yankee Stadium, retirement of Babe's number 3 uniform. Right? It's kind of somebody wrote it and told the story.
Yeah. That adds to it in my view. What is that one up to now?
That one was up to about 4K. I gotta read. So yeah. Oh, my bad. 9,500. 4K was the Cal Ripken first game of the streak.
Wow, that one's gonna get high. Interesting. I didn't think that one would go so high so early.
I know you're a debut guy, but not being a debut guy, would you think more people would rather own this one or his debut?
I used to own this one, but I sold it. And I have his debut too, obviously, but I like this one better, honestly. And I'm a debut guy, but I just think that the first game of the streak is I love the idea that somebody was at the game at a historic event because it was the first game of the streak, having no idea how important it was until years later.
Right.
I just think that that's pretty cool. So no reason to keep it. The whole reason why it exists is just accidental. Yeah, I like that one better.
And this is a nice one, really nice. Jordan Bird, and you get the program. I haven't really taken a deep dive into programs and grading, but just kind of a cool one. You see, there's quite a few of those out there, but that's a nice one. Hunt Auctions. I know I kind of pulled it up. I guess they got a lot of baseball stuff coming up.
Yeah, I didn't think that there was anything that really was crazy. Just so there's a lot of vintage baseball, just like there always is with Hunt Auction, but some interesting ones. They have, I think that it's the other auction though, not this one, because they have two going. But they have one that's a live and then one that's
yeah. You know what? That's a funny thing because I thought I remembered that, and I looked it up. I was like, wow, these things don't look that great.
Yeah.
And then you basically, yeah. So you got a lot of good baseball. Caitlin Clark debut. But yeah, they got a lot of tickets on this one, huh? I freaking hate live auctions. You got to be by your phone, but sometimes it can be advantageous.
Yeah.
If you're really wanting something.
Right. Sometimes you can get a good deal. But yeah, Hunt does the live auctions also, and it's kind of fun if it's something you really want. But if it's something you just kind of maybe not, then you usually just kind of forget about it because you're not going to sit around all day waiting for it.
Man, it's like baseball heaven in this auction. So if you're a huge baseball collector,
yeah, a lot of World Series and a lot of Negro League games that aren't dated. But it'll be interesting because it'll be interesting to see where they end up.
Yeah, I think I went through this once or twice. I was just like, wow, this is a lot out there. But yeah, check that auction out for sure, especially if you're a baseball guy. But I think that was really all we had, unless you had anything else.
Yeah, I think that's it. Covered it.
Well, all right. Well, check out those auctions and we'll see how some of this other stuff goes that we talked about. And hopefully next time we talk, the Mavs will have won the NBA lottery and all be right in Mavs land. And we'll see. We'll see how everything else goes with NBA and baseball. And can't get much worse. So I think it's better.
All right. Good note to leave it on.
All right. Justin says, have a great weekend. Have a good one.
Yeah.
See you later.
See ya.